Diving straight into the Paint and Brushes panel to apply a little bit of paint strokes to a layer using both color and alpha transparency. And finally, I will be using my own footage together with the clone stamp tool to clone or copy different parts of the scene or the footage to cover up other ones. Using the following footage here and checking out how to apply the basic brush tool for some animated strokes. To further use these tools, we're heading into the layer panel of our footage, using the tools up here in the toolbar to select what action we want to actually do with the brush tool, with the clone stamp, or as well with the eraser tool. Once one is selected, the paint panel will show us a few different type of alternatives available. Whenever having the auto open panel selected, the panels will open automatically if these weren't open already before. Plus, we're able to toggle the visibility on and off on the icon here left of it. Set the opacity to determine how much of the effect you want to apply as a maximum. The flow is set to adapt the speed of how much the effect will be applied, but a little bit easier to understand this is perhaps as in how much or how many times an area or part will be exposed when going over it with this type of tool. Since the more times you actually go over an area, the more of the effect will build or add on to it. Then this little icon on the left, which is currently a white circle, shows what type of brush is being selected and the actual size of it measured in pixels. And you can just click on it to be able to swap over to the brushes panel. We're keeping all the type of presets of different shapes and different type of sizes for all the brushes. Plus, underneath is also possibly manipulated by the diameter, and you can change the angle, which is for the actual elliptical brushes in the bottom to rotate around. The hardness will be adjusting the smoothness as a type of gradient alpha down to 0% or full hardness at 100%. Spacing may be dragged down to eliminate the gaps between the actual strokes and raised to increase them a little bit. Then if we have any type of custom brushes or just any brush that we like and think that we might going to need again or might use again, save them here, name them, and they will pop up again in this brush window later on. And the last option, called Brush Dynamics, this one is specifically for those using a pressure sensitive digitizing tablet, whereas there is a drop down to change the brush size to either off, pen pressure, pen tilt, or stylus wheel, with a minimum size from ranging down from 1 to up to 100%. And it's also using the same drop down options for the angle, roundness, opacity, and the flow. Smash that top right sandwich to create either a new brush, you might rename it, or delete it. The same options are available if you right click a brush, and just a few different view options such as the text only, the small or large thumbnail. We get a small or large list, plus just a basic reset if something is messed up at the bottom. We're able to manually set the standard foreground and background. Or just use the normal color picker. Use any blending mode and set the channels to either RGBA, RGB, or the alpha. And for this brushstroke animation that I will be creating, I will choose only the RGB and neglect or not having the actual alpha, because I don't want a kind of see-through effect. And it's also something that you can actually use just as the eraser tool whenever you're using the alpha, as kind of erasing or getting a see-through effect. Moreover, we're able to control the duration of the stroke between constant, meaning the stroke lines will be there from the current time indicator until the very end of the layer. We got the write on, which functions just as a recording of a stroke. Record and replay that stroke that you are painting within the composition with the same speed that you're actually recording it. It will replay at the same speed. Single frame makes a duration last for just one frame before disappearing again. While the custom can regulate between 1 frame and higher. And let us set this one to 3. Now, every time we click to make a stroke, a new brush stroke will appear under the options of the layer. This stroke has its path, thus making it an adaptable vector that you can scale up in full size without losing the quality, while you're also being able to animate with a start and end to paint on. Then those settings we saw before are also changeable here afterward. And pretty much all basic transform properties to also be animated. Strokes may be manipulated in duration, the start and end point, or you can also move them around to anywhere you like in the composition. A tip whenever you are painting on any type of footage and you want to change the actual brush size, so then just hold Command or Control, then just press and drag the mouse cursor upwards to kind of scale the brush up, and press and drag downwards to make it smaller. Just a quicker way of scaling it up and down. Now you can just paint over your footage wherever you want the strokes to be. Move ahead 1 or more frames and just repeat the process for whatever your preferred pattern is. Finally, giving us something like this. Let's get the eraser tool next. Everything here will be familiar with the settings, except for not having the actual blending modes. But instead of this, the blending modes, we got the erase options instead. With paint only selected, creating a type of eraser stroke over the painted strokes to erase or used to be fade them out a bit, and it's using the stacking hierarchy in the timeline. Thereby they need to be above the paint strokes to be able to function or have the perception of erasing them. The paint on transparent, which knocks out the background, we're able to use this in an opposite order to reveal the image instead. And we could also go into the painted stroke from previously and change the channels to RGBA just to see only the stroke without the actual background or the alpha. The erase last stroke only lets us delete or adjust a type of fading to the last stroke without creating an actual new paint stroke, just changing that previous one. Lastly, the erase source and paint with RGBA, and we also got the single frame duration to create a bit of revealing animation using transparency on this footage layer, while adding perhaps another background layer to be able to see it underneath this one. The option erase source and paint just makes this process a little bit easier as we're actually able to see the eraser strokes whenever we are animating forward. And this is that final visual look using the eraser tool as an animator. Now moving on to the clone stamp tool, having the same options at the top as for the brush tool, but a new section is revealed down here as well. We got some 5 different preset options to customize ourselves for different type of uses. Possibly swap what source we want to clone or copy from, either the current layer or we're able to add another source. By using the current layer and holding Alt or Option on the footage, thus we will be changing the source position down here from X and Y position, which alternatively can also be done manually to line them up a little bit. Then press wherever wanting to clone from as a source and just drag over the mouse cursor to apply that source clone to perhaps hide an object in the footage. Then let's add the little palm tree here from Illustrator to the timeline again and choose this as the source. Open another viewer to see them both. Now, if I first set the source position to wherever I want the cloning to start from, with aligned selected, we're now able to use multiple clone strokes to insert one text or object. But if deselecting this one, then a new clone will start and be created each time we let go of the mouse cursor. Whenever you want to clone a really large object using several type of different strokes over it, using the align will be a preferred method. And anytime you want to do several type of different small objects using just one stroke, then ticking off or unmarking the align will be a preferred method. Using the lock source time, it will open up to set up a specific frame as a source time to be able to clone from. If keeping it to default and unselected, there's a choice to offset or use a source time shift instead of going backward and forward to set a specific time frame to start cloning from as it's adjust forward. The last option, clone source overlay, presenting us with an image used as a reference to get an indication of how the cloning will look like. And it's also adjustable between the 0 to 100% opacity.